everyone, and welcome to the Piece of Us podcast. I'm your host, Crystal, and I have next to me my amazing husband.
I'm Aaron. Thank you.
And then,
I just got caught up on the amazing parts.
it took you a second.
Took me a second.
And then on the other side, we have Aaron's best friend, Joe.
Hey, everybody.
So
he is Crystal's friend too, but
he's my friend,
not
too.
best friend. So
Not my bestie. Okay, so we have an amazing episode coming up today. We are super excited. We have a guest. Her name is Tori. And hi, Tori.
hi, Tori.
Hi.
So
Hi,
we are,
everyone.
oh, go ahead. We are really excited today to dive more into adoption and different topics along all of that. So, Tori, tell us a little bit about your background.
So my background is actually in the care sector itself. I grew up in a house where we had adults with severe difficulties living with us, essentially in a fostering type situation, but for adults, it was called shared lives. So we basically had these people come and live with us, be part of our family, and it was a really great growing up situation because it taught you a lot.
So, was it basically you guys were fostering, but it was for adults with special needs?
Yeah, yeah.
That is amazing. Were you able to, I guess you don't, because they're adults at that point, but were you able to adopt any of them, or were you able to, like, I guess I call it
No,
adoption in your heart where you just like love them forever, but
yeah, I mean, so one of the gentlemen that has lived with us since I was little still lives with my parents at this point, and they're getting on a little bit. So it's they all kind of just grow together as such. But yeah, they're definitely kind of adopted in our hearts, I suppose, if that's kind of the way you want to look at it. But no, it's they're no longer allowed to actually be adopted. They were never taken into that side of the care system. It was because a lot of the people who were in the situation were from places that have been shut down, so either care homes or different types of hospitals and things like that, and taken into and given new homes through this scheme.
oh, wow. That's amazing, though, that there's still places for them to go and for them. I mean, I guess so. How is that set up? Is it through your government? Is it through, how is they put that
Yeah, so
together?
it's an independent company, an independent scheme called New Directions. They run the Shared Lives scheme where they will have people in their care system who will be placed with approved adults, approved support carers, support workers, and that is how everyone gets placed. It goes through a matching situation where they kind of test the different personalities of people and see if it matches with your family, your lifestyle, and things like that. Can you provide the level of care that they need? Can you provide the social and emotional stimulation that they need on top of it? And that's kind of how they place
Oh,
people.
wow. And where are you from so that everyone knows where you're talking about?
I'm from Liverpool, England.
It's amazing. I love your accent. I want to come to England so
Thanks.
bad.
Okay, so I am curious, real
Oh, we'll do
quick.
a swap.
Do we have an accent to you? Like, so in America,
Yes,
we're always like, "Oh, we love your accent," but I'm curious, like, do we have an accent to you? Because I don't think I have an accent, but yeah, I'm just curious.
you do. And I've caught myself a few times. My other half will go to me, "You've been watching Crazy Pieces, haven't you?" Sometimes I'll stop talking. And yeah, so I get called out on it a little bit, but yes, you do have an accent.
Oh,
That's
that's
awesome.
cool. I guess I never thought of it like that, so that's really interesting.
I am super intrigued. So we have been doing videos for quite some time, and we get questions constantly about our foster care system. But I'm always curious about other countries' care systems and how they work. And I'm curious. So most of the adults that you're dealing with, I'm guessing that they were in like a younger system first and then aged out at some point, or
Some form of system, yeah. So it wouldn't have been the foster system as we know it now. because at the time where they would have been younger, that system wasn't in place.
Okay.
Um, I'm talking about things, and I don't know whether you'd want to put some kind of trigger warning on the sentence or anything like that, but some of them would have been from different types of institutions
Okay.
because we are talking back into like the 50s,
Oh,
and
wow.
there were institutions that were still, open at that time. So some of those people would have been not through a care system; they would have been medically deemed incapable of life in the public domain. So they would have had to have been placed in some kind of um, home.
That's really awesome that, you're working in this system because, like you were saying, there are institutions that used to exist back, when we maybe didn't know as much about mental health or the mental health field. And so these systems were created, there were people a part of them. But now that we have, learned, or the field has grown, things have changed. And so it's awesome that there's a new system that is taking these individuals that probably were misplaced all along and giving them the help that they need. So,
Giving them home environments.
yeah, I think that's amazing.
So here in Arizona, it's still a problem, and I think that there's still obviously a lot of work that needs to be done, and a lot of things need to be put into place. But a lot of people are like, what happens to a foster child once they turn 18? Where do they go? What happens? So unfortunately, a lot of the times they're just done. They get kicked out of
Mm-hmm.
the group homes or a shelter or wherever they are, and they're just kind of thrown into the streets. And it's really, really heartbreaking to see. So, Arizona, I can't really speak for other states because every state is regulated separately. But in Arizona, they can choose to stay in foster care until they are, I think, 20. It might be 19 or 20. So they can choose, and they have put into place at this point independent living skill. And so basically, when they're about 16, they will start teaching them how to live on their own. They will start teaching them life skills. They will start all of this. And if when they turn 18, they don't like feel like they're ready, they can stay in that group home for a little bit longer as they better prepare them for that. They do have different, grants through the state and through the government that can help them, if they start saving their money at a certain thing, when they hit a certain amount, the state will then match their savings account. So there are different things, programs being put into place for those kind of things. But if they choose not to stay into foster care, that is kind of where they just get thrown into the real world. And so I guess like as we were going through foster care, we were learning all of this and all the different things because we had a couple of kids that were older and that had gone through the independent living skills and stuff. But it wasn't until Jamie came into our home that we really saw the other side. And it's the side of foster care that's not really talked about because they're not considered foster children necessarily. They are just, I mean, Jamie did go through foster care, but we had moved into a house over in Gilbert, and there was somebody that went to our church that had a special needs son with her. And I was like, oh my gosh, your son is so nice, like the nicest person you've ever met. And she was like, oh, I'm just fostering him. And I was like, but he's an adult. Like, how do you do that? Or like, what does that look like? And she's like, no, there's this whole program where families that have children that are going to need care forever. Maybe the parents have gotten older and can't take care of their kid anymore, or some other circumstance has happened. Where do those go? Where do those, like, who takes care of that population that needs help? So there is a program in Arizona that helps out with things like that. They tried to get Jamie into that kind of program, but at that point we were like, no, she's our daughter. Like, we're just, going to keep or take her in. I don't know how you would word that, but basically she's our daughter forever. So we're just going to take care of her. But that will be like a lifelong thing that, we've chosen, but there's so many families that aren't able to do that. And so it sounds like, does that sound kind of what your program is?
Yeah, kind
Kind
of.
of.
I mean, when a child would age out here, I'm not aware of too many of the kind of ins and outs of it. However, I do know that there is supported living, that they are a lot of the times helped with finding an apartment or a flat, or encouraged to go to a job. Honestly, just like you said, a lot of times children will end up, or young adults at that point will end up going to hostels or needing help from friends, couch hopping, things like that. So at this point, I think there's a big push to try and help people who are aging out. I mean, the hope is that, well, at that point you are in a family and they've taken you as a family, whether you're adopted or not, and you're shown that support through the family you're with. So that is kind of the hope, obviously. Um, but I am aware of some of the hostels and supported living. So it'll be like a little community in one space. So everyone has their own room, like a dormitory kind of. And then there'll be a shared space, shared gardens, skills that you can go to, workshops, things like that. And I know that is a thing, but I'm not too sure of too many of them.
Oh, wow.
So kind of just like it is here in the
Yeah,
States, it's there are some programs. It would definitely be nice to see more out there
more
for sure.
definitely.
How is the foster system and kind of the mental health system and everything there in England?
So the foster system itself, me and my partner are on the other side of it. So we're not fostering at the moment, but we have adopted our two little daughters and are at the stage of trying to find a son. So we're at the other side of it. So we see all of the paperwork side from the history, if that makes sense.
Uh-huh.
And obviously you're all aware of how that kind of looks. It's just our system here is definitely more focused on vetting than it is moving things along and making sure everyone's where they should be. Does that make
Okay, yeah, that
sense?
makes sense.
The mental health side of it though, there's been a massive, massive push at the minute, and I'm so happy it has, um, to help mental health. And it's part of what, just before we started filming, it was part of what I said I go into the schools to do. So at the minute, there are a lot of classes where we will take things into classroom, take mental health talkers and workshops, and start at the younger stage to try and help people bring themselves into a mindset where they can control their own emotions and they can um, handle situations for themselves, and teaching them those life skills at a younger age. And then the ones that obviously are older who need the mental health support, there's been a big push in different advocacy groups. So there's been quite a lot of effort being put in at the minute to help with mental health at that point.
Well, that's
Great.
really amazing. I'm so glad that so many more people are talking about mental health and making it just a
Definitely.
regular subject. It's amazing. How is the adoption process in England?
Oh. Long. So from what I understand, our adoption process seems to be about 6 times longer than yours,
Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
just to get
wow.
approved. Just to get approved.
That's a lot of that
So
vetting you're talking about, right?
yes. You have to do a chronology from birth until now of everything you've ever done in your life and how it affected you, how you changed through this. Does this affect you now in any way? Can you use these experiences? And you do worksheets upon worksheets upon worksheet, and I could probably say that 8, 9 times.
Oh, wow.
There's the first one is like 12 worksheets long, like 37 pages, just asking questions. How would you do XYZ? What does your family look like? It goes into your family history. You do your heritage trees. You do what's called an eco map. So you put yourselves in the center and kind of spider diagram, um, all your friends and family and support networks. How far away are they? How do they support you? It's very, very nitpicky is probably the right word.
That
But yeah,
sounds.
it's intense.
So on one hand, that seems like that's awesome because it means the people
Yeah.
who do get through the process are absolutely dedicated. Uh,
Yes.
but also you're gonna make sure that they are the right people. However, it probably also does scare a lot of people off. So it's kind of here in the
Yes.
States, you hear stories, and I'm sure it's the minority of people out there. There are some amazing people that are foster parents out there, but you hear about that one bad one, it gets splashed all over the news. You probably have less of that bad aspect in there. I'm sure it still exists, but it also means it's going to
Yeah.
be harder for the kids because of the vetting. Is it harder to find homes for the kids because there's not as many people willing to do it?
Yes. Yeah, I suppose I do agree with you on that one because as much as it's a great process in terms of being able to say, you know what, we looked into these people, we have written all of these reports saying, yep, these are the right people. And at the point when you get to match with a child or children, they can then say, we know this is the right match. But it takes so long to get there that it does put a lot of strain on the relationships of the people that are going through it, even if it's a single person going through the process themselves. It puts a strain on the relationships with friends and family because that's the only thing you kind of think about. It's always on the front of your mind, so it's quite hard to not have a conversation about it. And then, but at the same time, also you're like, I don't know what's happening. I don't know if we're going to get through, so I won't talk about it. And then you don't have anything to talk about. It's kind of a back and forth situation, but I do agree with you. It does scare a lot of people off, but kind of for maybe the right reasons.
Yeah. God bless you for going through all those steps, though, to do that, though.
Do they have like education and classes you have to take and all of that?
We did one mandatory class, which was they usually run it 2 hours over, I think 8 weeks, 6 or 8 weeks. We did it during the whole pandemic. So we just did we did 2 days, sorry, 2 6-hour days. And it talks about obviously the all of the negative things that children may have been through, how to work through them. And then it talks about what children might have missed out on. I like using the building blocks of life. So like if you've got a wall and they've had 7 blocks filled in, but the other 5 are missing because they never got that. You have to then decide, do I fill in those 5 and hope the cracks don't show? Or do I break that wall down and just start over? And it teaches you how to go through those steps. So it is a really good class, but we, as in me and my other half, we definitely went out and did a lot more training off our own back. It helped. It helped so much more.
Do you think that growing up with, because you said your parents were fostering the
Yeah,
adults?
parents and grandparents. Yeah,
Oh, great. Okay, so it's a family thing then.
yeah.
That's
Oh
awesome.
yeah,
Do you think that experience helped you in your own journey of fostering?
yes, definitely. Because I grew up 1,000% knowing that no matter who you are or what you've been through, you still deserve a place in the world. And that in itself, nothing could knock that. So no matter what question we got asked, it wouldn't change. So I think when you say it could scare people off going through things like that, it was more like, okay, why'd you have to ask that? Because it's just we know where the end goal is. We know that those people need a place to be, and so yeah, I really do think it helped.
I
It was a
love
great learning
that.
tool.
That everyone deserves a place in this world or a
I was like, I
place.
just want to highlight
Like,
that
I
one
just want to
sentence.
highlight that. Oh my gosh, it's so good.
Yes.
It's so true. And I think so many people nowadays feel lost or they don't know where they belong or they
Mhm.
just feel like they're not meant to be in wherever they are. And I feel like everyone deserves to figure out where they're meant to be and everyone deserves to be here and have a place where they feel
Exactly.
loved and cherished.
And understanding that loving yourself and telling yourself that you deserve that place is really positive thing. So a lot of people don't get that. They don't get told that throughout their lives. And I think everybody at this point should know you deserve to be who you are, where you are, and going through what you need to go through.
Love that. Powerful words.
So your family, it's a family thing that you guys do. Do you know
Yeah.
what kind of started that whole thing? Did your, I guess it was your grandparents, did they have a tie to it, or they just thought, hey, let's go help somebody out, and it became a family tradition?
I mean, as far as I know, my family's always been very open to helping people. But my nan and one of her friends actually started a care cooperative. So they were trying to actively help other people be where they needed to be and find homes and help them in that way. And in terms of like the admin side, once they'd started the care cooperative, they started taking people in. And it was after all of that started that shared lives, the company, the movement became a thing. They didn't start shared lives, I should point that out, but they did start a care cooperative. And we just all kind of carried it on.
It's great.
That's amazing. I always wonder, and we get the question a lot, like, or all our kids get the question, are you going to adopt when you're older, kind of thing?
Mm.
And I'm curious as the kids get older, like, will they adopt and
Which
which
ones
ones
will?
will? And
Yeah.
I kind of have an idea on which ones I think will adopt, but
Yeah.
I guess you never know, like, what path they're going to go down and who their significant other is going to be and all of that. But I think it's, yeah, amazing.
And you said you've adopted two and are in the process, two daughters, correct?
Two
And you're in the
daughters, yeah.
process of looking for a boy?
Hopefully, yeah. Yeah, little boy. We will be going to our panel some point next month. I do know the date, but I won't say it specifically just in case anyone watches. But yeah, we will be going to our panel soon, and we actually will be able to get access to looking at some profiles next week.
Wow,
Oh,
that's
well,
amazing.
good luck to
So
you. Hope you can
yeah.
find the right fit for everybody there.
Yes. So
Oh
when you
yeah,
say
me
going
too.
to the panel, what does that mean?
Oh, so once you've been through all of the questions and the workshops and meetings and so on and so forth, you then go to it's like a board meeting, and there's I think 7 to 9, I think it was last time, people who are sitting on that board. So it will be healthcare professionals, a doctor, a teacher, a social worker, a regulations officer, and they'll all sit around and they ask you questions. What made you adopt? What made you want to do this, have this kind of life? What are you looking forward to? How would you make sure the cultural or heritage needs of your potential children are prevalent to them and open? And you have to answer all these questions, and you don't know what they're going to ask. Um, and then you leave the room for a few minutes. They make a decision as to whether, yeah, we approve you as prospective adopters, or no, we don't. Luckily we got a unanimous yes last time, so I'm hoping it goes the same this time. But yeah, that's what panel is. It's based you go and watch people decide your fate.
Oh, wow.
So it's
That has to be
okay. So yeah, I
nerve-wracking.
have so many questions.
We have
Wow.
questions.
I have questions upon questions upon questions. Okay,
Yeah.
so before you go into this panel, do you already have a child that you're looking at,
No.
or is it based
So
on
you
that
do
panel
three.
they give you a child that okay, we think this would be a good fit?
So you do 3 panels as such. So you do the first one, which is, yeah, we think all this paperwork and all what you've said has gone right. You can start looking as a prospective adopter. That's the first panel. Once you get through that, you then either through your social worker or through local authorities or exchange days, so we exchange information with other authorities, or through there's a link, there's a website, sorry, called Linkmaker, and it's the weirdest experience I've ever had in my entire life, where it's got all of the children's profiles on from your region, and you just kind of look through them, and you can ask for more information about certain profiles. Um, what was the film Instant Family?
Yes.
Did you ever watch it? So
Yes.
you know at the beginning where it's all on the screen and it shows all of the children. It's like that.
Oh, wow.
That's pretty much it. Looks like that, and you see all the pictures and it tells you a bit about them. So once you've gone through whichever route it is that you find a potential match, your social worker will talk with a family finder from the child side. If they agree that, yep, this is a match, then you go to what's called a matching panel, where you basically do the exact same thing all over again, but now you're talking about how will you meet the needs of this specific child or children. Once that has all happened, you then start talking about being able to potentially bump into the child with the foster carer. Child doesn't know anything about this until the very end. Um, if that's gone right and you start to look at, yeah, we all think this is going to work, you then go to do introductions, which is 7 to 10 days long. You visit the child in their foster home, and over that kind of week or so, you incrementally begin being in their lives a bit more. So the first day it would be, I'll go for a cup of tea, leave, just talk to the foster carer. The second day, maybe you'll get on the floor and do a jigsaw. The third day, we'll all go for a walk. And it gets kind of more and more progressively more hands-on over the week. After all of the introduction side, the child then comes home. So after those 7 to 10 days, the child then comes home. Once they've been home for, I think it was 3 weeks, you do one on the first day. You have a meeting, which is just a placement meeting to say, did the introductions go okay? Have they taken to the house okay? And then on the third week, you do another panel where they decide, okay, is this right? And then they decide yes or no on that one. There's a lot of
Oh,
big
wow.
meetings that you have to go through just to get the child to be home as such. Sorry, that was a really long explanation.
There's so much
No,
that
I
goes
love
into that. How do you not have more gray hair at this point? Just all the stress that they put you through to do this.
I mean, it's funny you say that because I actually lost all of my hair last January due
Oh,
to all the stress, probably.
Oh my
Yeah, all
gosh, I'm
fell out.
sorry.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it is stressful.
that's awesome that that the people that are in the system though are willing to go through those steps. And I kind of understand it does make sense in a way. Hey, we want to make sure that this is a right fit so that hopefully that
Oh yeah,
child does not bounce from home to home to home to home. I want them,
exactly.
ideally, I want them, here's your place, and then that can be your forever home on the first try. Doesn't always work out that way, I'm sure, but the chances there are probably a little better with your system than it is with what
Exactly.
we've got if you're willing to go through that.
Yes. And the only other way that you could do that where the child will come home instead of going to any kind of foster home first is called foster to adopt. So when you go to that very first panel that told you about, you would put in to be an adopter or a foster to adopt. And that way, so let's say, for example, there may have been a family whose children have gone into the system. That family then is notified, or they notify the council, or however it may come off, that there is another baby coming. They know that they haven't been able to turn things around and that child would not be safe. That child would then be automatically placed for a placement order, which is basically the courts will say, we think this child would be safer in a different environment. If they think that you are the right people for that child, they can temporarily place that child with you as a foster carer until their paperwork is sorted, so until they will be adopted. Does that make
Okay,
sense?
yeah,
Yes,
that
very
makes
much.
sense.
I feel so bad. I'm talking so much. Sorry, guys.
No,
No,
you're
this
good.
is
This is
great answers.
interesting.
I'm so intrigued and I have so many questions that I don't. Does it seem like, and I guess this would be hard because it's hard for us to, like, we get asked this question. Is there a lot of kids then in England that are in the foster care system that end up aging out because the process is so difficult to place them with somebody because of all the vetting? So is there? Oh, I have so many questions. I can't even.
So where do the kids go after they
Yeah.
age out of foster care if they don't find an adoptive home?
I honestly don't know. Is
What?
the genuine answer? I don't know. Like I said, there are some group homes that they could go to, although it's not called group homes here, it's like assisted living. They could go there, or they will hopefully have been provided some kind of help from wherever they were staying at the time. Um, a lot of the time, though, if a child gets to a certain age, so like preteen, a lot of the time they will then be not allowed to go forward for adoption. So
Wow.
they will then be vetted as long-term foster. They're not allowed to be adopted. They have to stay in foster care for whatever reason it may be. Maybe there's still some kind of connection or some kind of access to birth family, which means that they're not actually allowed to be adopted. And so they spend their entire life then in the foster care system purely because the paperwork couldn't have gone through, or someone didn't want to kind of chase up on things, or which is absolutely heartbreaking. And especially when sometimes you'll see like a group of, so for example, there was a group, I'm not going to obviously give anything away at all, but there was a group on our first time we looked at Linkmaker. There was a sibling set of 3 children, one older, that's age 7, and then a 3 and a 2-year-old. There were a profile where they were all together, and then there was a profile with the 2 younger ones and the older ones separate, because they said that they are more likely to be placed younger than older, so that the older child would potentially then stay in foster, but the younger 2 would have been able to be adopted,
Oh, that's so sad.
which is,
That's.
it's heartbreaking.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, wow.
It's heartbreaking.
Do they give the kids a choice? Like, so once you go through where you met them here and there, like, do they ask the kids?
No,
The kids don't get a choice.
they it's so it was actually interesting when Savannah and Luke came home, and you explained in that video that at over the age of 12 they get a choice and they get
Yes.
asked, and it kind of inspired me to be like, actually, do they do that here? And as far as I can tell, no. I know our girls got asked, are you happy with mummies, or do they look after you, what's your favorite thing about being home, and they get asked that, but that was the extent of it. I mean, my oldest
Okay.
daughter is, and I told Crystal when I spoke to it, my oldest is the same age as Aurora, and she has quite a lot of the same difficulties at the same time, the same needs. And at that point, when she came home, she was 4.5. She wouldn't have been able to make that decision. My little one was 2.5. So they wouldn't have been able to make that decision. But as far as I can tell, I don't think the old ones have that autonomy or chance.
That's so interesting.
Interesting. It's interesting how the different states do it, and like, or different areas, I guess countries even.
Countries, yeah.
Is yours governed by just the country itself? Do you have like counties that cover it? What is there a breakdown as to different governing bodies in different locations?
No, not really. It's the whole government is just the whole of England is the same, and then the council, so the local, each town's council will have maybe 1 or 2 things that they do different, but it'll just be like a process of paperwork maybe, but the government itself has the the be all and end all say.
So it is somewhat uniform across England, whereas here, I mean, size-wise, obviously it kind of makes sense, but every state is completely different, and it can be quite problematic when families are living in different states and things like that.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, here it's sometimes you can't place the children in the same area that the family is for obviously safety reasons. So they have to be moved. But a lot of the time they try to have some kind of familiarity. So we do what's called life journey books, where it'll tell it's the child's entire life story from birth until they're placed for adoption. And there's three versions. There's the child friendly version, so from 7 or 8 below, which is just the main. You lived here. This was your birth family. This is who cared for you. This is your new family, etc. The wise judge told us where to put you. They decided. So it's nice. It's child friendly. It's pictures, and the second version is the same book with more information.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third is at age we get them when the children are placed, but then you decide whether it's between ages 13 to 16 maybe, is a letter from their original social worker that explains what happened, why it happened, and the feelings that were surrounding that situation at that time. So
Oh,
they
wow.
get everything they potentially could um from that situation, but sometimes it is necessary to move them from where they were.
Makes sense.
Wow. That's really cool though that the social worker would write out like here's what happened, here's the my thoughts and feelings
Oh,
and
it's so nice.
wow, because they don't do something like that here. Like we can request a file. So when a child first comes, they give us like a I don't know, like an about us. You know what I mean? It's very
Yeah,
short and very like, hey, here's why they're in care, here's how long they've been in care, and that's pretty much it. Like
yeah.
that's
It's
pretty
like the
much
blurb on the back of a book, isn't it?
right, yes. Very much so. So it's just like a little like thing about their life and that's pretty much what you get. Some of the caseworkers will then if you request it, they'll be like, okay, we'll give you the file, but they blank out obviously all the names and like,
Yeah.
you know, privileged details of the little things.
Mhm.
But and then and sometimes court documents and that kind of things will be in there. And then we've had some where we've gotten absolutely nothing. And even requesting a profile, the profile came with nothing. Like I don't know if a caseworker
Yeah.
just didn't put it in or just didn't, you know what I mean, take the time to kind of write it all out. And those are some of the hardest ones because as the kids have gotten older and they're asking questions and I'm like, I don't even know. I don't
Yeah.
know if there is anybody that does know. And it was really interesting to, so we didn't know a lot on like Alex's situation. And we ran into a caseworker when we were going through the adoption with like Lucas and Savannah, and we were looking at another potential one. And the caseworker was like, oh my gosh, like she had put it together that that's who we had. And she was like, let me tell you what happened. And she told us this backstory on Alex. And when he first came into care, and she was like, this is one of the stories that haunts me. And like she went into a lot of detail of stuff that we had no idea. But it all actually
Wow.
started making sense when certain behaviors or just different things, it was like, oh my gosh, I understand why now. And I really wish that they
Yeah.
would be more thorough with adoptive parents or even foster parents on just everything. Like, I would rather have a
Yeah.
whole file and, like, don't share this with the kid until they're old enough to understand and process
Exactly.
it than not to get anything at all. It's really difficult.
Great that the kids in the system that you have there that they have a history, they have a backstory to whatever their level that they want, once they're
Yeah.
capable of having that, so that they're not just, okay, I am a blank, I don't know what happened prior to that. They can at least know some details about themselves so that they still have a
Yeah.
story.
And
We've, oh, go
sorry.
ahead.
No, it's okay, go on.
Oh, no, go ahead.
No, you're more interesting
Yeah,
than we
you're
are.
more
We want to
interesting
hear.
than we are.
No, I was just gonna say we tried from our side of it personally, we tried to mirror the same kind of thing moving forward. So we then created a hey, now you're home, this is your family, this is where you live, loads of pictures. So we made another book on top of that, which had like our family and friends in who they were to the girls and how they were in our lives, what their backgrounds were. Um, and I mean, my two girls have got dual heritage. um culturally, like they have two identities, or actually they have four at this point, but beside the point. um so we wanted to make sure they knew that they had somebody else to look up to in terms of their identity. So we made sure that we put that in the place as well, and making sure we were looking at the backgrounds of that. So it's really good that we had that information so that we could then move forward to make sure they had their own identities to do that.
That is
And like you
That's
say,
awesome.
amazing.
with situations, it's nice, isn't it? And with situations like you said with Alex, when you don't have that information, that must be so hard.
In essence, you guys are creating like a baby book for them that they can grow up and look at pictures and like
Yeah.
that, or like a scrapbook. That's so cool. There's
And
only
we've created
been,
an email, so like people, our family and friends, when they do something with them or have a core memory for them, you can write a diary entry, a journal entry to their email that they can then open when they're like 16, and they can see everything they've done in their whole life through the eyes
oh,
of the people that did it with them.
I love
So it's
that.
just, yeah, it's just a really nice kind of thing that we thought might be nice for them to look back at.
That's cool.
I definitely see some like major differences in England's system compared to America's system. And it's really interesting the idea of core memories. A lot of our foster kids that we've brought in, those core memories are scattered to the wind, and they don't have any, you know, tangible thing that they can sit down and read or look at. So I just think that's such an awesome part of the system that they're able to maintain that and then go back and look on that. That's awesome.
They can still have heritage. They can have identity. They can have those kind of things where it's, with some of your family, or you guys don't know a lot on the back end. We're having to do DNA
23,
tests
yeah, DNA test to figure
to
out
even
stuff.
figure out.
We did do one.
Did
Oh,
you
did
did you do
you?
some of those? But like,
Yeah, we did, but only because we didn't know the specific. So both of my girls are part African. We didn't know whether it was Nigerian or
what region of
something
Africa
else.
itself? Yeah.
Exactly. So that's the only reason really we did that. But yeah, you've been having to do the DNA test, haven't you?
Because they have absolutely no, that's the only way we know anything about
Yeah.
some of the kids. And so that's awesome that they have that, and that you're continuing that.
Thanks.
And
I mean, honestly, that was mainly the whole moving forward, remembering core memories was my granddad. He did that for me growing up, and I grew up in my birth family. It wasn't anything to do with being in any kind of system or anything like that. He just did it. So I have files. I think I've got two or three files of A4 documents, which is the story of my life. Like he literally wrote me the story of my childhood with
Oh,
pictures, and every trip we went on, he wrote the story of what happened in that trip and put all the pictures to match it. And it was inspired by that, doing the moving forward core memory thing. It was truly.
I think
I mean,
everyone
and
should do that.
I think it's so cute. I just think it's cute. I mean, obviously, I'm a bit biased, but yeah, I do think it's cute.
did she just bust out It's So Cute too?
Yeah, yay.
Love
I did,
it.
Jess. I did. I've got your back, Crystal. It's okay.
Yeah.
I think it's cute that you also do that. See what I did there?
I see what you did there.
Now, on your family side, or a personal side, you deal with your family has done the adult fostering. You are doing that same thing with your family, your individual family. But professionally, you also work with kids a lot and schools and things of that nature, correct?
Yes, I do. So I've been a dancer my whole life. This will make sense, I promise. I've been a dancer my whole life, so I went through education as a dancer. So I did my first degree in dance with aerial performance and like circus skills, stuff like that. Once I'd done that, I took that into teaching. As soon as I realized that teaching was not just, I needed to change it. So I stepped back from teaching and started working with children and families on the breadline. So through poverty or through being kicked out of schools for different reasons because of mental health or different behaviors. Because at that point, well, even still now, children who cannot focus in school, they do get a really bad rep, and it's not their fault at all. It's just because schools aren't equipped to handle different classroom settings at this point. So once I realized that, I then started working with my friend's organization, and we did workshops each week, and we'd do workshops and go around to schools or like community groups to come to us, and we'd work on mental health and understanding behavior and trying to find your inner voice, your inner peace. And that then kicked in my other, like a second gear, and I went off to do my master's, did that in education, focusing on children's voices and the social justice within that. And off the back of that, I'm now a school governor at my children's school, to try and help make sure that the system behind schools is being able to be progressive and make sure that it's working on the things that hopefully we can make better.
That's amazing.
And
I-
so there, and that's with the elementary school right now. When your children get older, are you wanting to kind of age up in the groups you work with as well, or is it kind of do you have like a
I've
soft spot for that age group, or?
I've worked with all age groups, so I just like helping people. And I know it sounds so cheesy and cringy, but I do. It doesn't matter whether these are 5-year-olds or 16-year-olds or adults. And we did a big community support system for veterans. So it for me, the age isn't the thing. It's whether they are responsive to the support that you're providing.
I just want to point
make
out
sense?
it is not cheesy at all. And I think that it's interesting to me in society that when we talk about that you would think that we would think that that's cheesy. And I want to make sure that we're moving towards a goal where that's not cheesy. It's something that we strive for, that everybody's trying to help somebody else. And I think that yeah, I think
If there's
that's-
more people like that in the world, like it would be
Yeah.
such a better place. Everyone just wanted to
Absolutely.
help each other, and I love that.
yeah,
One thing you said too is like kids that struggle in school. And you'd mentioned like
Yes.
it's not their fault. And it
not.
was interesting because when we were first parents, I mean, when like Hallie was just starting school and we're like, oh my gosh, okay, you need to get straight A's. And she actually did. Like she just got in there and she just got it. She understood it all. We barely had to help with homework. And I'm always like, okay, like she gets it. Like this is easy, you know? And then, Max started into school and he struggled with dyslexia and mixing letters up. And it was kind of a different experience. And then we found out he was colorblind and he was struggling with colors. And so it was a completely opposite, I don't know, experience with it.
Yeah.
But he was just as equally as smart. Like he was smart and he got it and whatever, you know what I mean? Like he would get it, but it was just in a different way. And we had to work differently with him than we would with Hallie. And then we started doing foster care and we got kids that, had skipped a grade or were in the wrong grade or missed a whole section because they had got removed schools or had switched schools. And so then we were like, okay, grades don't matter. And I know that's going to sound, people are like, oh my gosh, you don't care about education. It's
No.
not that at all. It's not about the grade. It's about the effort and it's about their learning style and learning what works best for them and figuring out, because teachers would be like, oh, they don't get it. I'm giving them a fun on the paper. And I'm like, but they don't know the learning. They don't understand the concept that you're teaching. And then let's sit down and learn that. And then, their grades would start coming up. And it was just opened our eyes to really everybody's learning style is completely different and everyone has a different experience when it comes to how they learn. And some people are visual learners. Some people are, I think there's like 4 different learning styles. And figuring out what worked best for each one of our kids, and each one of our kids learns completely different. And so now it's less about grades for us and more about actually what they're learning and make sure that they're progressing with that.
I bring it back to what Tori said earlier about, a kid comes to you and they have a wall, but it maybe only has 7 stones and they're missing, these other 5 stones. And I think it's interesting because you never know, every kid is probably missing a couple of those stones, but you'll never know which ones they are until you give them a chance and give them an opportunity to shine where they can, but also learn and grow where they, need to grow.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's like the thing where grades doesn't really matter as long as you're becoming a good human.
It's very true.
Like you can learn, and especially when you said about Max with dyslexia, if you try to force a child to learn a subject and write about it and they can't write about it, and you give them an F, what would happen if instead you taught the child the subject in the same context, but then asked them to provide an oral paper? They would probably be able to recite everything word for word and get an A.
Right.
Just like you said, it's finding each person's niche into learning. That's how you get people to their highest potential. It's believing in them and having their back in whatever way they need, not whatever way you put forward. So like the government or whoever it may be, the schools sorry, I just got very distracted. The dog's trying to catch a fly. The schools could say, we need these papers, here's all the exams, write them out, finish them. But then if you say, okay, well, what if you say it and I'll be the scribe and I will just write out your answers for you because you've got a broken arm? They don't see that as a problem. So why should it be a problem if you've got a child who is dyslexic or who has attention deficit disorder and can't focus on a paper? It shouldn't be that we focus on the grades themselves. It should be that we focus, like Crystal, you said, on the effort that is put in and the understanding behind the subject instead.
Yes.
They do have
Yeah.
systems, and I think it leaves something to be desired, but the schools are at least attempting to recognize that, and students get IEPs or individual
Yes.
education plans. Is that what
Yes.
it's called? Do you guys have
Yes.
something similar
Same thing here.
concept
Exactly the same thing.
where
Yeah.
they're looking at it like you said? And I'm actually thinking there was a movie called The Blind Side with Sandra Bullock
Yes.
about a
Yeah.
football player, and that guy, the movie was good. The book was absolutely
The
excellent.
book was genius.
It was so good. Okay, so you've read, I'm an avid reader.
Oh, yeah.
I loved it. They thought he was just dumb. And I know that sounds harsh, but that's what everybody thought. But they went in and figured
right.
out exactly what you were saying. Let's give him an audio test where we're going to read it to him, and he hears it, and suddenly he's like, oh, yeah, it's all of this. And it's like, wait, he processes a little bit different, but he's a smart individual still in,
Yeah.
and it's great that we're recognizing and learning some of these things. And so I love that you're helping
It's-
part of that
it's-
in the education side as well.
Thank you. It's just like life, though. We all have a process through life and we all learn in different ways. We all grow in different ways and have different pathways. So why should education be any different?
Very true. Very wise words. We love that. It's so, so true. All right. Well, we are going to go ahead and wrap this podcast up. Thank you so much to Tori for joining us and educating us on the England system because it was so interesting. Oh my gosh. I still have so many questions.
I was like, I still have a million questions that I want to like rapid fire.
That's
but
okay. We
no.
can keep talking after.
But again,
No, thank you for having me too.
Oh, thank you so much. And thank you to all of you for joining us on today's podcast. And we will catch you guys next time. Peace.
Thank you guys. Peace.